Hello, it's Paul McFadden here, and today I'm joined with Eimear Gourley, who is the NI property girl. So I'm looking forward to having a conversation with her because she's an absolute superstar. It's been amazing to see what she's been doing in her own journey, and that's my goal with this podcast is to inspire people because I always think it's great to learn from other people and what they've gone through, what's their background, and what they've overcame, and more importantly, what they're working on just now within the whole property world. And Eimear's doing some amazing things. I mean, you're probably the number one property person, in my mind anyway, in Northern Ireland. You're lighting things up over
Hope
there.
so, yeah.
And not just there, because you're always over here in the UK spending time and doing things. So it'd be great to, well, first and foremost, welcome and good to have
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Straight off a plane this morning.
Yeah, it's always a whirlwind when I come over here because there's so much happening, so many people to talk to, and never enough time.
Good stuff. So let's kick things off with telling us about the Eimear's background. Right, go back the way and then pre-property, and tell us a bit more about you and so forth.
Woman who was many years ago.
Yes.
Do you know what it has been? I was thinking about this recently. It has been such a short journey, but so much has happened. Like in my personal life, in our business life, in my career, so much has changed. I couldn't think. The me 4 years ago couldn't believe where I sit today, honestly. So basically where I started was, must have been about 4 years ago now, I was working as a civil engineer, building wastewater treatment works. It was so glamorous, but it was all for someone else. I did love my job. I thought it was brilliant. But I was slightly bored in that I always felt I had more to do, more to give. And my husband and I always wanted to get into property. But it was, how? How do you do it? How do you not mess it up? Because all you ever heard was people saying, yeah, but if you buy this house and then you buy that house and it all comes tumbling down. So people just put the fear in you and you say, right, I'm not going to do it. So then we started to look into different businesses, how we can do this and that. And it just didn't work. There was no passion in it. So finally, somebody called Paul McFadden Wealth popped into our aura, and we met you for the first time in December 19 actually, and we sat there and listened to everything that you're proposing in terms of how to do property in a way that we had never heard about, totally different, and we thought this sounds interesting, so different, but. It's when you've had your own world totally smashed to pieces, when this is how you think one way and someone says, by the way, there's a whole new universe over here that I can teach you. You're like, oh my gosh, it sounds incredible, but maybe a bit too good to be true. It's that, how have I not heard about this before? How have I kept my life kind of as it is? So we sat in that room with you. I was 8.5 months pregnant with our third child. And after listening to what you had to say about property, we thought, you know what, this is it. This sounds exciting. This sounds like it's going to give us the buzz. So we'd kind of made that decision there and then to go for it. Let's just get into property. Let's see where Paul can take us. Let's see what doors he can open for us. So then January 2020 came. We had our third child, and we were all like, yes, I'm gonna change my life on maternity leave. Because I'd had a few maternity leaves before, and when I came back to work, it just stayed the same. Life didn't move fast enough, and I just wanted more, and I could never put my finger on what it was. So we were all geared up to come over here to see you guys and do Property Jumpstart, and then COVID happened. So the world was about to fall down. Everybody was like, there's no point in starting a business. There's no point in doing anything because... yeah, there's nothing in the future. There is no future. But we decided, do you know what? If we're on maternity leave, we've got COVID, what else are we going to do? We may as well better ourselves so that whenever we come out the other side of whatever COVID is, we're a little bit more educated. We've got a little bit more basically options of what to do. And honestly, from that time that we did our online, because it was the first time we had to do it online, we just learned so much. And over the next few months, we learned so much about ourselves that we loved talking to people. We loved helping people. And the journey just kind of started from there, really.
Do you know what I love about that story? Is that so many people, through everything that happened with the lockdowns, decided to do the exact opposite, right? Dumb down, watch God knows how much TV, playing computer games, you know, like anything other than to better themselves. Of course, that's not everyone, right? Most people watching this type of podcast are the ones that were bettering themselves and maybe playing some games or whatever, right? But I love that. You know, it was a mindset shift of, well, look, who knows what's happening in the world right now?
Absolutely.
But I'm taking this on board. So your first exposure to myself in PMW was doing a jumpstart in Dublin.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, before we get into all the stuff that you're kind of working on in your property journey, do you know what I've always found interesting in Dublin? Now, I've never spoken Northern Ireland. And
Yeah.
we need to make that
Yeah,
change, right?
yeah,
We need to make that happen because I would love to. But in Dublin, it's a very different crowd, you know?
Yes.
And I find it's like, and I love it. I enjoy it. It's a good crowd. It's a crowd that likes to heckle, right?
Oh, 100%. That's not true. I don't believe you.
It's always entertaining, and I kind of love that. But it's almost like they've got this that, and look, skepticism's a good thing, but it's almost like they've got a lot of it, and it's like, who's this guy coming over, you know, from the UK, coming over from Scotland? I think being Scottish is actually a good thing for me, you know, but coming over and it's like, well, what can he actually show us? He doesn't know about the Irish market and what's happening here in Dublin, and I get that, but it's good that yourself and a number of others could see past that and see the opportunity and see, well, how can I carve that out in, you know, in Ireland or Northern Ireland? How can I make this work? Because, you know, as I always say, you can allow, you know, what's happening in your marketplace stop you from doing anything, or you can look to navigate through things to make it work because other people are making that happen, and you're one perfect example of that. So first and foremost, massive respect for
Thank you.
seeing past all of that and going, yeah, there's something here. So you came to the Jumpstart, then you had to do Protoy online.
Yes. Which was unusual. And it was like weather like we were having at the minute. It was glorious. And I was stuck in a room. It was the best weather we'd had all summer. And I was like, no. But actually I was so grateful. Everything that we spoke about, it's not just property. And that's why so much of it was to do with the mindset. And having that was almost like, saying like it's a savior seems a wee bit like dramatic, but it really was, because your mind is just the one thing that is going to ruin everything or make everything for you. So because you'd worked on it so much and I'd never done something like that before, that totally opened up not just a whole new property world, but a whole new, oh my gosh, personal development, working on your mindset, working on your health and fitness. And that again was another part of it, what kept us so sane over the whole COVID thing. It kind of grounded us a wee bit.
Yeah, it was one of those ones that probably people needed to hear about the mindset side of things and some self-care more than anything else, you know? So I love that you did that. And then once all the madness and the chaos kind of started to settle down a little bit, we got you over to do a live in person. So I would love to get into all the property chat, but tell us quickly just a little bit about your experience on Protoy.
Yeah. So Protoy, so the first, as I said, we did it online and it was like, you're just being shot at. I mean, there's just so much information. And because it's so new, it's stuff that you'd never heard before. And it's strategies and ways. You can't actually, I personally couldn't process it all. There was just so many ways. And your mind is thinking about like 100 different opportunities. But like, but how do we do it? But what about this and what about that? And if you're allowed to just take that information and go away and be by yourself, you start to doubt, you start to question. But the great thing was, obviously, the people that I did it with, we were all together, and it was like, well, what do you think? And it was that like start of a community that we saw. So whenever I finally came over here to do it in person, I was like not so shell shocked, which was really nice. The fact that it was almost the second time I'd done it, I was able to relax and really think about the strategies that I wanted and really think about the area that I wanted to go into. So being in person was just like, it's just no other. Being online is great, because we had to, but whenever you're here and you're with other people, you feel the buzz, you get the energy, and you're just able to speak out, ask questions, and like talk about experiences. So I personally, I just loved it.
Yeah, and I guess something you just touched on there, which is so important, is that support, being around others, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
because it is, even whenever like you start something, if you don't have someone there to say, keep going, Or sometimes if you're going in the wrong direction, someone can say, what are you doing? Bring it back. You've kind of, as you know, with property, there's so many shiny objects everywhere. And it's the quick money or the easy opportunity, easy in inverted commas here, opportunity that you get waylaid from why you actually started it. And if you don't have the other people to kind of pull you back in and say, well, like, why are you doing this? Or, you know, do you need help going in that direction? Because you're just going on a wild goose chase here. Stick to the rules, stick to what you've been taught, and it really works. And that's something that from everyone that I started with, and even a few other, like, I suppose, Protoy groups after, really, and all the chatter around is like, if you stick to what you're told, you do the blueprint, it works. And it's the people who they don't stick to it, they try to take the shortcut. They maybe, well, I don't really want to do that. I just want to jump to here.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. So this whole thing doesn't work. And like, no, you didn't follow the plan. So you follow the plan and it works. And that's what I felt like I did. And on our Wednesday night Zoom calls, I turned up. I think I missed like 2 in an entire year. Even on holidays, it's like, I am not missing. Because with anything, it's just consistency. Like, I was able to learn, go away, take action, ask questions, go away, take action. And that's what I have found has been one of the main contributors to how we've grown so quickly or got to where we are in such a short space of time.
Yeah, one thing that I love about yourself is that you do take action.
Yeah.
Do you know that way? You know, it's like speed of implementation. I've learned something. I'm going to go and apply it. I'm going to learn through the process of doing and see the results, because I'm looking forward to get into talking about some of the things that you do
Yeah.
because you're very proactive on that front, which is testament to what you've achieved. Now, for Protoy, you obviously had your background previously in civil engineering, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you came along because you wanted something different, I guess.
Yeah.
What was your expectations when you came first? Because you just said at the very beginning you've surpassed where you thought you would be, which I want to get into that.
Yeah.
But what were your expectations? Because some people's like, well, I just want to come and, you know, add a property to my portfolio or two or do one flip. What was that expectation at the beginning?
At the very, very start, I wanted to build my own portfolio. I wanted to have I just wanted a house. I just wanted to start somewhere, but do it the right way. So like it was almost before we got into Prodigy, you just don't even know what's possible. So I thought, right, if I come and I learn how to do this the right way and I can learn how to make some money, but for the long term and kind of set myself up, but also be creative. It was hard to define exactly what I wanted. It was very much just for myself, you know, for my own family. I want to build my own portfolio. And that really quickly changed whenever I thought, well, if I am the type of person who has spent a long time trying to understand how to invest in property, and I just can't do it. I just don't know, because I'm doing it my own. I'm looking on the internet, I'm Googling stuff, watching random YouTube videos. It's pulling it all together. So before I came, I couldn't tell you what I was actually fully looking for. It was just something. I just wanted to make, you know, like a financial future for myself that I was in control of. So whenever I came and I realised, actually, if I could do this for myself, how many other people in Northern Ireland are the ones with the family who are working, who are like pulling their hair out trying to figure out how to do things. And I thought, well, they're all sitting there and they don't have the time or the resources or the want. And maybe they're too skeptical about coming and doing like property education. I said I could help them and like do it for them. So what I thought I was coming on to Prodigy to learn about how to build a portfolio for myself totally changed into I can actually create a business that is way bigger than the portfolio that I was just going to buy for me.
Yeah, I love that. And it's something that I always try and stress to people is that once you start to open up the doors and see what's possible, you know, your life can change fast. And by fast, I'm talking about, for some people, it's within 12 months. For me, and I always say that, it took me 5 years. It took me 5 years, but I never had the, I guess, the support and the mentorship. But how long did it take you? Because you've been doing this since you came to Protoy, what, 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, round about now, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
So how long did it take you to make that transition to become full-time and start operating and running your property business?
It took me, this is where I struggle because I think it's been so many years. And I go, no, hold on a wee second. So after a year from Prodigy, it literally must be like a week after to the date I had left my job. So it was September 2021 that I left my full-time, almost a government back job. Pension is sitting there, almost like you're able to climb up the ladder. It was like a given job, a nice job that you don't walk away from. People don't walk away. You don't throw your life down to go into this kind of unseen world of property that could always just blow up in your face as everybody talks about it. So yeah, after a year from doing the in-person Prodigy, I handed my notice and I walked away.
So 2 questions on that. What was the first year in property? What was your journey? What was the first deals you were working on? What's the strategies you chose in a sense to help you get there? But also, how did other people react around you? Because that must have been a bit of a shell shock for people.
100%. So whenever I'd even said, "Oh, I'm going to Scotland to learn about property," I was like, "What do you mean? You don't do property. You have been labelled by everybody as this sensible person who, like, you wanted to be a civil engineer, you're a civil engineer and you're doing really well. It's almost like you're in a box, so people will label you as what you are. So if once you change, people go, oh, you're not that person anymore. Who are you now?" And it's a wee bit uncertain. So whenever I said, okay, I'm now doing property, it people were like, oh, that's not going to work out. We'll see how long this happens. And the type of person that I am and always have been was I'll just do it quietly in the background, say nothing, and then I'll just emerge already at done. Like the overnight success type situation. They're like, oh, yesterday you were doing this and today. But no, in the background, I've actually been working away really, really hard. So that's basically what I took from it. My entire journey growing up has always been just quiet. I've just been the person in the background, just getting on with it, getting grand grades at school, like no big shakes. Wasn't a loud person. I just got along with it, did it, and then at the end, people went, "Oh, that's it done." And that's kind of the way that my journey started, and it kind of kept going with property. Was in the background, I was just still doing my work. That's fine, but trying then to realize that I needed to build some kind of online presence to work with people, so people could actually work with me. So whenever I came away from Prodigy, I thought, right, actually the best business model or the best way for me to not just grow wealth, but also to give me something to do. I just didn't want to be one property landlord and leave it. I was like, I can create a business, and my mind was spiraling with how much I could do. So my strategy was, let's be the property sourcer. Let's come back to Northern Ireland and help other people build their wealth, build their portfolio. So the money that we had decided to put into our own property said, right, actually, if we shift that and we put that into the property business, then we could build something that's bigger than just one property. And that's what happened. So started an online presence, started to tell people, this is what we're doing. And that was a wee bit of a friction with work. People were like, sorry, are you still a civil engineer? Do you do this? So that first year was it was difficult to build an online presence, telling people I'm a property person while they all knew me as a civil engineer. So it was almost like I was going, right, who's the me in 2 or 3 years? Let's almost be them now instead of worrying so much about other people.
Yeah.
Because it really, really holds you back. And that was one of the big things that so my business was Kego Investments, Kego being the names of all myself, my husband and the kids. And one day my husband came down and said, you need to call yourself NI Property Girl. And I thought, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. That's so presumptuous. That's this, that and the other. Everybody will slate me. And then we kind of talked it over for a few days, and we thought, actually, let's not try to be who we are now. We want to be the NI property business. We want to be the NI property girl. So let's start to where we want to be. And we did take a bit of backlash for that. People said, well, you haven't been in this game long enough. How do you know what you're doing? And I said, well, time isn't necessarily experience. If you spend 40 years doing very little, it doesn't mean you've got more experience than somebody else. And that's something that I really held on to. I thought, well, I'm doing a lot and I'm doing it very quickly, and I'm asking the right questions. I'm getting the experience through learning, and that's where NI Property Girl kind of was born. And when that started to take off, we kind of knew then work was going to be no more, because we thought, I can't do both.
Yeah.
This business was growing really quickly. I was getting busier in work. I thought one of them has to go. So I thought, "Do you know what? Give the property a go. If it all goes wrong, I've learned something about myself, and I have always got my credentials, my experience to go back to. If everything went wrong and I could just go back and be a civil engineer, like, what's the worst that can happen?"
Yeah, this is what I love about the whole sourcing strategy. You know, you source property deals, you trade them on to help people build their portfolio, and it's a cash flow strategy that we teach at Protoy, and it's a strategy that got me started. That's how I get started in my property journey as well. And I had no idea that it was a property trade. I just found a deal, and an investor took it and paid me £1,000, my first ever property deal. But of course, if you structure it right, it could make a lot of money, over £10,000 in the structure of the deals. So of course, you doing that, and that was the catalyst to bring in the cash flow and see the business to grow. Because I remember at one point you were saying, Paul, you know, I want to take on some new clients, and then next minute I'm talking about within a couple of months, like, Paul, I've got too many clients. You know, that must have been around that transition where you changed to the NI Property Girl, which I never knew it was your husband. So that's amazing. Like, well done, massive respect for him put that forward, because I think it was a very smart move. And the good thing about that is that you embrace social media as well, and how you put yourself out there. So I always recommend anyone go and follow Eimear. That's for sure. She's a perfect example of someone who is just putting herself out there, you know, being her and sharing what you do, which is great. And it's that's what people love, to follow that journey. And it's funny, because if people were looking at your content just now and the stuff that you share and what you put out there, they would never for 1 second think that you've just been on your property journey for 3 years. And one more point I want to touch on. You mentioned about someone's got 40 years experience, but you know what the crazy thing is, especially in the corporate world, is that it's not necessarily 40 years experience. They're doing the same thing 40 times, you know? And that's what I love about how it really upsets people around when people get an education and learn new strategies. Go, hold on a wee minute. Like, that's not what we thought it was. We've been to college, we've been to university, we've put the reps in, we have, you know, worked up this corporate ladder, we've put a decade or more into our life and to get here, and you think that just overnight, as they say, because it's overnight, as if it's overnight, you're working diligently in the background and, you know, putting the reps in while no one else is doing that, and you start seeing the results. And this is what I love about property, because it doesn't take a lot to start seeing, you know, life-changing money starting to come in. So walk me through that transition of going full-time in property and building that business. You were still sourcing for others, but you transitioned into a couple of other things too, haven't you?
Yeah, so the main business and what we've kept core the whole way through is finding property for other people. For it literally is the done for you service. So instead of just there's a house, crack on, see you later, it's okay, people, it's the whole life of property. Well, how do I finance it? What about a solicitor? What about a survey? And one of the big things that when I'm speaking to prospective clients and I say, okay, and then we'll get you the house, and they're like, well, will you leave me there? What about if it needs some work? What about the tenants? And then I'm like, no, don't worry, we'll take care of the whole thing. So that's what we found with our experience with project management and dealing with so many different aspects from kind of my civil engineering, was that that's what people nearly want, a big hug. They just want to say, I'll take care of everything. Yes, I'll set you up with a finance partner, I'll set you up with a solicitor, I'll look through your survey, and then once it's all done, if it needs any renovation, we'll help you there and set you up with a letting agent. It is literally, you dream up the investment and we'll go and get it, and there you go, your tenant's in and now you're making money. And that was where we thought, okay, it literally is the end-to-end service. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. Like, we will spend months with each client because it is a long process with them. So that was great. And it was, when it started out, we were just going, look, we are new, and we didn't go out and start going, oh, I've been doing this for years. And the whole thing about what we started with was authenticity. We have to show people that we're new, but we're not new to life. So anybody that is starting, and I see a lot of people who come through Prodigy, and you can identify them immediately, because I'm like, you're talking about stuff that you think people want to hear, but people, what they really want to hear is about you. They
Absolutely.
don't want, like, it gets me, right? So you can probably say I'm like, I can't find the words. I'm getting a wee bit annoyed here. People want to follow you as a person. And yes, they want to know that you have an understanding and an appreciation of property and how the numbers work and where you're investing and stuff like that. But recently there was an architect who started, and he said, I'm only new. I don't know what to post about. I don't know what to tell people about. I'm like, well, you've got a good 20 years in architecture. You've got your, like, a father, you play sport. You've got all these things that people would really like about you. Talk about that. Talk about life. And that's whenever we started, it was, guys, I'm new to this, but I have this experience. So I use my experience from being a project manager, managing multi-million-pound projects, to say, look, I'm just transitioning my skills. It's just a skills transfer. It's not something completely new. So you can still trust me. And that's where people get totally overwhelmed by when they start this. It's all, I'm new. Who's going to trust me? Who's going to give me money? Who's going to pay me? Well, think about you as a person rather than you as a new, like, property sourcer. And that's what we did. So we built everything that we had based on follow me on my journey. And when you do that, people get behind you. They go, oh, she's new. Let's see what she's doing. Oh, she's got kids as well. So do I. Let's see if she can do it. Maybe I could do it. And you're giving people something to like look forward to and to do. So that's where we said, right, the property sourcing is about changing people's lives. Again, kind of dramatic here. But you are changing them because they are sitting at home worrying so much about, how do I get into property? How do I find the right deal? How do I make sure it doesn't fall through? So as a property sourcer, you have a big responsibility to actually set them up properly. And that's what I loved about doing what we're doing and building it. So now we work with a lot of families. It's very similar, funny enough, that you attract the type of person that you are.
Yeah.
So the more I put out who I am and what I want out of life, those people just kind of find me, funny enough.
Yeah.
And we work really well together. So that's where we said, right, the property sourcing is a real thing. It's new in Northern Ireland. So we've broken into a market that people are saying, what now? You want me to pay you to do something that I could just go to an estate agent and do it myself. Like, that makes no sense. And then I say, okay, well, how long have you been looking for a house? They're like, well, I've only been looking for 3 years for the right one, but it doesn't matter. And I say, okay. So it's about the service rather than just like the end goal. So that's where we then put, right, we need to educate the people of Northern Ireland on how to invest the right way. And like everything that we do, the more people are well informed, the more people understand, then the more, like, ultimately they trust you. It's like you give till you get. And when they understand that property sourcing is a great thing, that property investing the right way is how you should do it, then they need someone to do it for them. And I just happen to be here, the person that's been giving everything out. And funny enough, they come back and say, listen, can you help me? Because I trust you, because everything you've been saying to date has been true.
Yeah, I love it. And it's that skill transfer that you mentioned, which is a lot of people don't realize, know. And the good thing is that you have used leverage as well in terms of pulling your collective power team, that you spent the time and energy to get them around, and you're out there because you've invested in your education, out there sourcing the right property deals. You know the right marketing strategies to get them. You know how to build relationships with the right agents, and and then more importantly, you know how to do the due diligence, and you know how to then present it, and you're giving that whole, as you said, end-to-end service for someone. And that's why with the right clients, they're like, yes, Eimear, can I have 3? Can I have 5? Can I, and can you do this for my brother? Can you do this for such and such, my mate as well? And it's dealing with different people altogether, and you've carved out that niche as such in terms of working with the right clients that see that value, and they're judging you on your ability to provide the results, not the fact that you've been in property for a few years. They're like, well, she's not just been a few years. Look at her skill set. Look at her background. Look how she's put herself out there. Look how she's being seen. Look at what her results are actually achieving for others and what it could be for me. And I'm on board.
Yeah.
Love it.
It doesn't take much I know it sounds a wee bit ridiculous when you're working, doing this full time. But that's one of the things that somebody said to me recently. I was like, well, how can you negotiate a better price? Like, why do you not pay market value? That makes no sense. If I have to pay over market, well, why not you? I said, okay, so per week you spend maybe maximum 1 hour looking at houses online. That's it. Like, this is my full-time job. I have an entire team that we do this. So it's getting people to get over that. It's almost like I can't do it myself, so why can you do it? Like, justify why it's okay for me to like pay you. So more than anything, it's then whenever that person goes and tells their family and friends that this is what they're doing, and they're questioned, well, sure, you could just negotiate it. Sure, you could just find it yourself. And they go, oh no, well, they have a full team. They do this full time, and they've got the relationships, and it's more like putting people at ease. So saying to them, okay, yes, I could just, I could do this part time. I could do this for an hour a week, but you'll not get the same results.
Yeah.
You have to be working with someone who is committed. And if you've spent the money on your education, you're going to want to make sure that you have worked hard to get that money back and to do more. So you're going to put way more time into it as a property sourcer for other people who are just not. They're just busy working.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I say to people, because many people come to our Jumpstart events because they want to learn about property. But a number of them who come to those Jumpstart events, because I talk about preferred investors and deal sourcing and how to work with them, they come up to me and go, Paul, I love this idea of education, but can someone just source me a deal?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I get it, like some people do want that, in the sense of maybe they don't want to go through the education. They don't want to go and, make they just want to build a portfolio of a few properties. And I always recommend then get yourself an experienced sourcer. Someone's been through Protoy, like Eimear, and they'll look after you, which is always good. So I guess that, so that's what you do. You've built your team, which is amazing to see. And some other things you've been working on, maybe share some of that stuff.
So we also started like flipping our own houses, which was great, completely with investor money. So again, we invested and have invested in our own business a lot. Like, marketing isn't cheap, which we know. But with that, we said we still need to build our own pot. We still need to kind of think about ourselves too. So we use completely investor-led finance. So it's we would ask for, if it's 100,000, 150,000, and other people entrust us with their money. We go out, we buy the house, renovate it, and sell it on. So we've made profit on it. The investors made profit on it, and it's brilliant. It is literally the no money down option that you never thought was possible. Like, how can you possibly make money in property when you don't have any yourself? You ask other people for it. And once you get that confidence in yourself to know that you're going to deliver it, and other people have the confidence because of the results that you're showing, then that comes kind of naturally, which is great. So we've done that a few times. So we're building that up. The service accommodation, we are really keen to get started in it, to look in it. And I feel like I've been saying this for a while, but it's trying to make sure that we're doing it justice and we're doing it the right way. Especially in Northern Ireland, there's a few bits of legislation that people need to get over, which is great. We're all for keeping everybody above board. Gets rid of the riffraff whenever we're doing stuff, which is great. So that's kind of our main focus in terms of the property stuff. The other side of stuff that we have kind of diverted into are, like, we hold networking events. We started our own when I say property education, it's more like an online course, so like teaching people the basics, understanding how to invest the right way. So stuff that I have learned myself through doing in Northern Ireland, because there's nothing Northern Ireland specific is very different. We're a very different animal over there. So there's a lot. If you can do it in Northern Ireland, you can do it in the rest of the UK. But it's slightly different if you do it in the rest of the UK. Income Northern Ireland, it's very different. So we did that, and just as you say there about, like, we have given our property course away for free at our last event, and we'll be doing it at our next event at the end of this month. But the people who have taken that on have still said, that's great. I've been through the content. Can you find me the house? Because I now know almost that you know what you're talking about. I now understand what you're saying, but I still don't want to do it myself. I still want you to find the house for me. So one of the big drives that we have is teach as many people about how to understand property. So not like property sourcing and going deal trading and stuff like that. That's not what we want to get into. It's just getting people the basic level knowledge that they feel confident actually investing in property. So we've gone down the route of holding networking events. We have done mentoring as well. So people who are saying, I have learnt a bit, but I'm just too scared to pull the trigger. So can you just like pull the trigger for me? Tell me exactly that this is okay. Again, the comfort blanket. People just want to know that it's okay to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
So again, going down that side of stuff. So it's very much for me. We started going, I want a property. I want to make as much money out of my own portfolio, to completely change into like helping everybody else build their own portfolio, teaching as many people as we possibly can, and just really enjoying the process. And as I said, like doing the flips as well. So it's been a whirlwind. I couldn't tell you what. There's so many other things that we've done during the year. But yeah, it's been exciting.
Yeah, no, it's been an absolute pleasure to watch. You know, seeing you coming along, and this is the where I get the greatest fulfillment is when I get conversations like this with someone who is a few years into their journey, because you know I can always remember the person when they first came and they were excited and, you know, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to go, and all these kind of dreams, and then things come to fruition and actually happening and starting to see the results. So for me, it's just been amazing to watch, and you know, it's testament to you putting the work and the time in to really make it happen, and give that NI Property Girl name justice, you know, which is just amazing to see. And then setting up the networking event is always a great thing too, because you know I know myself, there's, especially in Northern Ireland, there's not anything like that. So the fact that you're doing that is amazing, you know. And I promise I'm going to go over it now. We're going to definitely do something over there. You know, I keep on saying it, but we definitely need to make it happen, because I always have fun over there. So with that said, what's the vision going forward? Where's Eimear? What's the plans? And more importantly, how can people connect with you and reach out?
So it's a hard one to think, like, where do I want to, like, the last 3 years have been life changing. Like, my whole family has changed. My husband and I work together in the business. We've got other family in the business. We kind of look and go, my life has changed so much in 3 years that it's nearly hard to comprehend where the next 3 years could be. But one of the big things that, again, we're still keen on is to become, like, when you think about property, when you think about investing in Northern Ireland, we want the only person for you to think about is the NI Property Girl team. And we want to almost be that hub. So when people think about, right, I need, you know, finance, I need a solicitor, I need this, that, and the other, so many different areas, even if it's property staging or whatever it is, that they are coming to us over the next few years. We want to build up that we are, let's say, like maybe the Amazon of property world in Northern Ireland. And then from that, we'll develop to other parts of the UK, or basically, it's almost like the NI Property Girl approved suppliers. You know, okay, people ask us a lot, what mortgage broker do you use? What builder do you use? What this do you use? And we said, we would love to just help other people and say, well, if you're good enough and we've used you and you've almost passed the test, then let's shout about it. Let's help other people kind of build that up. So that's one thing. We want to be the only person people think about when they think about property in Northern Ireland. They come to us and we are able to deliver. If it's not directly, it's with our partners to actually help everyone else bring themselves up and actually have a great portfolio and do it the right way, not just buying any old nonsense for the sake of it. So that's one thing. I know you're heavily and motivated to be in the education sector, and that's something that I've always been keen on, is getting, so in my, let's call it previous life, I was a big advocate for getting women into engineering and going into schools when they're really young and teaching them about just different things. And that's what I really want to do as well for us, is going into schools and teaching the kids about financial education, whether it's just lighthearted because it's kids, but it's getting an awareness, because the amount of people that I speak to now, and they're in their 30s and 40s, and they're saying, I'm really embarrassed to say, but I have no idea how a mortgage works. I don't know anything about this. I wish they taught it at school. And I think, well, let's stop repeating the same process. Let's actually go in and change this. Let's actually do something about it. So that's another thing that we love to do. So these things have all stemmed from property, something I never thought that we would have started doing. The service accommodation side of things, we definitely want to keep going, keep moving towards building that up and building that for our clients as well, because we have a lot of them asking to be involved in service accommodation. And just continuing to build on our own portfolio. We want to keep adding to that, because again, that's why we started this. And as well, yeah, just continue doing the property sourcing and working as much as we can in Northern Ireland, and then kind of branching out in other places as well.
Yeah,
So,
I love it. It's great. And what you've done in the last few years, I've got no doubt you'll do so much more and help many more people. And just a point you said there, you know, I think it's a Jim Rohn quote that if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want, you know, and I love that. It's always been my ethos, you know,
Yeah.
if you support and help other people in their journey. You know, a great book that I recommend anyone go and check out is The Go Giver. And that book changed my life. And I read that many, many years ago. And when you read it, you realize that you should just give. You
Yeah.
know, it's selfishly, not even expecting anything back in
it's
return.
really scary to do that because you're giving everything you have. I have invested so much in myself, and I know when you invest so much in yourself and you give so much away, you're like, are people going to just take it all? And are they just going to never come back? I'm going to give it out there and everyone else is going to steal my ideas. And you go, well, that's just the complete wrong mindset. You have to have that abundance mindset, which you always talk about. Let's not talk about scarcity. There's enough. There's more than enough to go around. But if you're prepared to be the person that's going to do it and take action, like you can't not make a success of it if you do it right.
Absolutely. So how can people connect with you so they can continue to
Yes.
follow your journey?
So every social platform that you can be on, our main platforms would be LinkedIn and Instagram. We are NI Property Girl, Eimear Gourley. Basically, one of those two will get you where you are. Just Google it and you'll find us. Our website, nipropertygirl.com, has so much information there. That's also a place where we want people to come and just be able to sit for a few hours and search through a lot of information. So yes, definitely connect, and anybody, like anything that wants to come on board as a client, get in touch and we will have a conversation.
Great stuff. Well, thank you for spending time with us. It's been great.
Brilliant.
And
Thank you so much.
no, absolute
honestly,
pleasure.
Without you guys and us taking that leap of faith, like what I said at the very beginning, we were skeptical. We said, how does this work? If he's giving away all this information right at the start, if he's giving away all this information for like what, £50 or something Jumpstart was, well, how much more can there be? And honestly, there was just an obscene amount after, that initial. So it's taking the leap of faith that you're going to actually action what you're being told, and saying, if you don't change your life now, your life's not going to change. You're going to be in that same stuck situation. And whether that be educating yourself or getting the portfolio, asking us to get your property, literally, if you don't take action now, you'll just kick yourself.
Yeah.
The you in the future is not going to like the you from the past if you don't make any changes now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you. I mean, if you just keep on doing what you've always done, you're going to get the same results. So
It's going to get worse.
absolutely. So it's good to make that little shift, and it's been amazing to see the shift that you've done as well. It's been brilliant to see. And as always, like I'll link off to all the links to Eimear's social media and websites and all that stuff in the show notes. And if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. I'll be getting in there and responding. I'm sure Eimear will keep an eye on things as
Absolutely.
well to pop in there too. But Eimear, thanks again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. You love it.